Hey guys, welcome. This is a case study that we're calling Premiums and Income Should Match. Okay, where did we get that from? The man, Nelson Nash, in Becoming Your Own Banker, page 48. I will read it to you. He says that people always find it, let me see, it always sounds a bit strange to people when I say premiums and income should match. But don't we put all of our money through someone else's bank? Like as soon as we get paid, doesn't that money go into someone else's bank? His main concept is if the concept of infinite banking works, and it does, then why the logical end of that is that all of our money should be going through a bank that we own. Think of it like this. You're a banker. You're sitting at Regions Bank. You're just one of the guys out there in the lobby, and in walks the CEO of Wells Fargo. And he says, hey, Mr. Banker, I'd like to put some money on deposit at your bank. Would anybody else be confused by that? Of course. Why? You say, Mr. Fargo, why don't you put the money on your bank, on deposit at your bank? Doesn't that make more sense? But instead, what we've done, and I'm right there with you, this is all things that I've been learning over the last 8 to 10 years, and just now figuring out for myself. And we're going to share in this case study my personal experience that many of us are putting 10 cents into this little banking function over here that we own and control, and 90% of our money is going into someone else's bank. That just doesn't make sense. So we've got to have a way to bring that all for a full circle where 100% of our income can match our premiums. Now, what has been the problem? Right? We all want to optimize every dollar that we make. We all want it to continue to grow without in compounding manner. But what's standing in our way? The problem is that Nelson left it as a concept. He didn't give us a practical step-by-step on how this is to be done. In fact, I don't know about you, but I was overwhelmed thinking about the idea of how in the world could I possibly do this? There's too many ambiguous kind of steps out there that could possibly take place. And I thought it might even take too much of my time to figure out. But if there's a way to become your own banker and to make it simple, shouldn't you know how to do it? That's the purpose of today. Like I said before, I didn't start out this way. This was 8 years in the making a lot of mistakes, having a lot of kind of faith almost steps of just saying, well, I'm just going to start another policy, and try to get to this point where my income matches my premium. But just in the last 6 or 8 months, I figured out some things, and I want to kind of share those with you today. So first of all, let me share my screen with you. Bear with me here. And the first thing I have to do is I have to ask the question, do you think like the bank or like a consumer? And so the first thing I would ask is this: when you put money on deposit at someone else's bank, at any traditional bank, what do they call that? Do they call that an asset or a liability? Now, most people that I've asked that question to, they say, oh, it's an asset. But in actuality, it's a liability. Don't they now owe you that money back when you go back to them? Yes, absolutely. So it's a liability. Now, how do they turn that liability into an asset? Well, they do what banks do. They make loans, and they have to have a borrower. Now, that borrower is what they're going to do is they're going to send interest back to you. That's how they've now turned this into an asset, haven't they? Now, they then pass back pennies to you, I'd say 0.01%, and they're on average, let's say they're earning 6% over here. That is a huge, huge percentage. I can't even do the math right in front of you right this second, but it's thousands of a percent return. If there's a way for you to take over this function, shouldn't you know how to do it? Okay. Now, there's going to be a process to doing this, and it's going to be step by step. So first of all, let's walk through that. First of all, you have to know your budget. In order for you to put all of your money through a policy, you have to know how much your expenses are per month. If you don't know that, start with that. That's something I had to do. I had to sit down. For me, I'm going to give you my number. It's $12,000 a month. Okay? That's how much it costs me to live, my family, the expenses that it takes to run through our family. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take a loan to pay monthly expenses of whatever that monthly amount is. Now, if you don't have a policy that has enough cash value in it to pay your monthly expenses at least 1 month, or in this case, I'd say you want to have 2 to 3 months in kind of reserve, then this isn't going to work for you, okay? So just stay tuned, learn it, and when your policy is big enough, you can start implementing this, okay? The last thing is you're going to, anytime, so you're going to take a loan at the beginning of the month, whenever it is, and then any income that you get throughout the rest of the month, you're going to send back to the insurance company as a loan repayment. Just that simple. So the goal is that if you're following what Nelson talks about in the Parkinson's law, you're not spending every dollar that you make, you're actually making more than what you're spending. And if that's the case, you're always going to be constantly building equity back into your policies. Let me give you a picture of what I'm going through. Okay, so let's say this is the policy that I started with. This was back in August. I had an $80,000 cash value policy that's the gross cash value that I had. Now, about 6 months before that, I had taken a loan against that $80,000 for $40,000. Okay, so that's outstanding, and I have $40,000 of available cash in my policy. Okay, I just told you what my expenses are every month. $12,000 are my expenses. So what it dawned on me is, why don't I borrow $12,000 from the $40,000 that I have available and pay my expenses? So that's what I did. I'm using red here because this just indicates that I have a loan against the remainder of this cash value. Okay, so I've got $12,000 coming available. It goes through my checking account and on to pay my expenses. Just that simple. In fact, I'll tell you this is a very mindset thing. At the beginning of each month, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I have a $12,000 check come in that I know is going to cover all my expenses for the month. How much more freed up do you think I feel knowing that that's coming in every single month, even if my income is dipping at the moment? So we're going to get to that in a little bit. So there's a lot of mental things that come along with this. Now, let's say that this is the month of February, and in that month, I happen to make $20,000 of income. Where do you think that $20,000 income is going to go if all my expenses are already paid for? You're right. I'm going to pay that loan repayment right back into the policy. And what did I effectively do? So it seems a little bit silly, but somewhere along the line, I made some equity in my policy. Let me explain. I took $12,000 out, so that would have made this $40,000 loan a $52,000 loan, and that would have lowered my cash from $40,000 to $28,000, right? I dropped it down like that. So if you kind of follow the line there, that's what it kind of looked like. But then when I paid back $20,000, what happened? I went from $28,000 to $48,000 of available cash, and I lowered the loan from the original $40,000 to $32,000. So effectively, I increased the line, and I added $8,000 that month in equity to my policy. You should start to see that line move up every single month. So you with me so far? I borrowed 12, I paid back 20. I had 8 extra added to my policy, which reduced the loan and increased the cash available to me. So then the next month, I come over here, I do March, I did the same thing. I take the 12,000. This time it comes into my bank account. And it pays my expenses. From there, my income goes back as a loan repayment. The same thing has happened again, but all that back and forth, I've essentially lowered this 32,000 down to 24,000 in available loan or existing loan. And I have added, again, another 8,000 in available cash. Okay, so everything that line is moving up, in my cash is increasing, my loan is decreasing. So I am consistently showing myself that I have more income coming in, and I can then say, okay, at some point I'm going to fill this $80,000 policy back up with this free cash flow. Well, now, of course, this is just one of the many policies that I already have, but I needed a way to prove to myself, and maybe you're the same way, that it's when is the right time to start another policy. Well, at some point, you need to set the line at wherever that is, and once you've crossed it, and you can look down the road and you say, okay, I have this premium, that premium due, then you know that you've got it available. Then, and only then, you say, okay, let's start another policy. And from this policy, I can essentially take a loan, and let's just say it's a $20,000 loan, and I will bring it over here, and I will start policy number 2. In this case, I pay it annually one time, and I use this mother policy, if you will, as my starting base, my home base. That way I only have to focus on one premium, one loan amount every month, and one loan repayment every month. Or you can make multiple loan repayments, doesn't matter. Now, practically, so I hope this is making some sense. We're going to have some follow-up conversation about how this actually looks. But here's a couple things that you want to know. Number one, every month your income may not look the exact same. How does that change things? It only changes how fast the amount of cash available goes up or the amount of the loan goes down. You need to have some reserves anyway, and this becomes your reserve pile. So that's number one. And I will tell you, since I started doing this, I've had months where I made 20,000. I've had months where I made 6,000. And I've had months where I made 47,000. So this does not look perfect like this in real life. But I will tell you, it all works out in the end as long as you're not spending more than you're making long term. So that's number one. The second thing is that we got to make this thing very practical. And so what I'm saying on that is you make the loan every single month from your carrier. You can call it into most carriers. In some cases, you have a form, you fill it out, and you email to them. And then when you make your loan repayments, I just set up my individual policies as payees on my online bill pay. All I do at that point is when I'm ready to make a loan repayment, I go in, I fill in the number, and I hit loan repayment in the memo section of the online bill pay, and it shoots off. I don't have to have a stamp. I don't have to have anything like that. It's all just automated. Very simply done. So those are some practical things that I've learned, that I've implemented, and that now is consistently helping me to grow my system. And I hope it's helpful to you, because at the end of the day, what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to be put in the position of being your own bank. The thing that we're all seeking after anyway, but it's going to make it where you can see your progress clearer and clearer every single month even. You can check your online account with the company that you're with, and you can see how your cash flow is going back to them. This is the most practical way I've found, but I want to hear from you. I want you to, one, send me a note. You can email me, joey@wealthwithoutwallstreet.com. You can go on our Facebook page and message us. You can put it on the wall. You can do anything you want to do to let us know. Just say income, or use this hashtag income equals premium. Income equals premium. That way we can keep up with this and see who's engaging with this and how helpful this is or not. Also, if you improve on this, please do. This is just my chicken scratch, but if you improve on this, please share it back with us. We want to consistently help people become their own bank, get wealth without Wall Street, and hope this has been helpful for you. We look forward to adding more of these videos in the future.